Welcome back. This time we're talking about Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, the second film to star Tom Cruise in the title role made famous in the best-selling series of novels by Lee Child. When the first film was in production for its 2012 release, the news that Tom Cruise had been cast in the title role made a lot of waves, especially among fans of the books, because Jack Reacher, the character, who is a former military police captain, is supposed to be 6'5", 220 plus pounds and blonde, which is essentially the exact opposite of Tom Cruise. Now, fortunately for the film, or unfortunately if you're just being spiteful, that movie, Jack Reacher, was actually pretty good. It was a solid crime thriller, and Tom Cruise did really well in the lead role, capturing at least the essence of the character, if not the trappings of him. Now, I say that having never read any of the, 18 Jack Reacher novels. I do have a friend who is a big fan of them, though, and although she does not believe that Tom Cruise in any way exhibits the characteristics physically of Jack Reacher, she did enjoy the movie. Which brings us to this sequel, which again has Cruise as Jack Reacher. We have a new director, Edward Zwick, who previously worked with Cruise on The Last Samurai. And I have to say, like the first film, I found Never Go Back a solid popcorn entertainment film. It definitely has some problems, especially with the script in terms of predictability. But between the solid acting, the quality action sequences, and a decent story, I enjoyed it. It's a solid, enjoyable 2 hours if you're looking for, like I said, popcorn entertainment. Now, I say that with a somewhat large caveat. If you enjoyed the first film and enjoyed the mystery side of that movie, because it really was a solid mystery crime thriller, you might be disappointed with this, because the mystery angle in this film is not really there. And quite honestly, you pretty much know who are the bad guys and what they're doing by the end of the first act. And once that gets cleared up, and it really was never a mystery to begin with, it's essentially an action thriller from there on. But what this film does do a good job at is really depicting some very visceral, almost brutal violence, pretty much pushing the edge of what you can get away with a PG-13 rating. And I'm not talking about necessarily quantities of blood. It's just very brutal action, very reminiscent of what we get in a lot of the Jason Bourne films. I wouldn't say that this is as necessarily as well filmed, although they are quality action sequences, but it did remind me of that, if nothing else, for the sheer brutality and the visceral nature of those sequences. And that really helps to amp up the tension in a lot of scenes, so that despite the fact that the script in a lot of areas is kind of predictable, there still is that level of tension there that allows you to enjoy this kind of action thriller. Now, as far as the story goes, Jack Reacher, who is the ever drifter, moving from one town to the next, one case to the next, always finding himself in trouble. When we first meet him in this film, he's kind of wrapping up this case, and he was helped in that by this Major Turner, Susan Turner, who is an MP, basically kind of in the same role that he had back when he was actually in the Army. And she is played by Cobie Smulders, best known for her roles on How I Met Your Mother, as well as Maria Hill in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. And there's a bit of like flirtation as they communicate over the phone in a few of these early scenes, and he decides to eventually make his way to D.C. to meet her in person. Unfortunately, when he arrives, he discovers that she had just been arrested the day before on espionage after two of her investigative agents were killed in Afghanistan, and a hard drive full of classified information was found in her home. Now, of course, Reacher suspects that she's been set up. He's basically proven true when he is accused of murder himself, and the two of them essentially have to go on the run. And that's the kind of the core of this movie, is them trying to stay one step ahead of not only the police, but also those that are out there to make sure that they're never arrested and tell their side of the story. And just when it seems like Reacher's life can't get any more complicated, he finds out that he might have a 15-year-old daughter a girl named Samantha, played by Danika Yarosh. And of course, she ends up getting dragged into all of this intrigue as well. Now, as I said, the mystery side of this story really isn't even there, and the plot itself is pretty predictable. It hits a lot of the beats that you would expect from the opening moments of this film. And while for some people predictability is a death knell, sometimes, for me at least, quality execution can overcome that hurdle, and in this case I think it mostly did. I mean, it's very noticeable at times that you can pretty much figure out where the story's going. But again, the solid performances and the quality action sequences help elevate the tension that might otherwise get seeped away by the fact that you kind of know where the story's going. I also did enjoy that we got a little deeper look into Reacher's character, both as he's dealing with the possibility of being a father, as well as kind of getting stuck with Major Turner when he's pretty much, he likes to work alone. That's his deal. So if we wanted to do the math, there are areas where this film is not as good as the first. There are a few areas where I think it is a little better. Overall score, I'd probably say this is not as good as Jack Reacher. But if you're looking for just, solid entertainment and a way to just enjoy 2 hours watching good action and a decent story, I really don't have too many problems with this when you look at it from that perspective. So if you've seen Jack Reacher Never Go Back, let me know what you thought about it. Did you enjoy it as much, more, or less than the first? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.